Good morning. Live from Studio One, this is WNY News. I'm Melissa King in New York with these headlines. Trump's special master overturns by a higher court. Donald Trump dine on Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago with special Holocaust denier guest and white supremacist. The House committee got Trump's tax returns after 3 years of legal battle. 2 former Trump's White House lawyers ordered to testify by the Justice Department, Oath Keeper leaders convicted for seditious conspiracy. Donald Trump is threatening the investigators about indicting him. Lindsey Graham and Mark Meadows ordered to testify in Fulton County grand jury case regarding the 2020 presidential election. The Republican plan for the country when they take control of the House of Representatives. A legal expert political analysis about Nick Fuentes and his ideologies. Now, for the details please, stay tuned. We begin with this breaking news. Donald Trump was so incensed over new information that Twitter aimed to moderate misinformation about Hunter Biden's laptop, and insisted it somehow made the 2020 election fraudulent, that he demanded the bedrock document of American rights and laws be tossed out, and make him president again, or hold a new election. The Justice Department's criminal investigation into Donald Trump's handling of White House documents got a major boost Thursday, as a federal appeals court ruled a judge was wrong to interfere with the probe by appointing a special master to review material seized from the former president's Mar-a-Lago home. The decision marks the latest setback for Trump in a months-long legal fight that government lawyers say has stymied their work. Prosecutors are exploring whether Trump or anyone else mishandled government records, including material classified at the highest level of secrecy, or engaged in obstruction. Our special correspondent, Richard Diggs, has that story.
In its order Thursday, the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the decision of a federal judge in September to appoint a special master and block the Justice Department from using the bulk of the documents while the review was being conducted. The panel featured 3 judges appointed by Republican presidents, including 2 nominated by Trump. The law is clear. We cannot write a rule that allows any subject of a search warrant to block government investigations after the execution of the warrant, the appeals court said. Nor can we write a rule that allows only former presidents to do so. Either approach would be a radical reordering of our case law limiting the federal court's involvement in criminal investigations. We know that Trump had already confessed his guilt of taking U.S. classified documents which he claimed, "They are mine," and it was his personal documents and he wants them back. The panel also rejected Trump's argument that he needed a special master and an injunction against the government's use of the seized documents to protect records he claimed are designated as personal under the Presidential Records Act. The status of a document as personal or presidential does not alter the authority of the government to seize it under a warrant supported by probable cause, the judicial panel said. Search warrants authorize the seizure of personal records as a matter of course. Trump had early success blocking the government's access to several dozen boxes of documents and other items seized from Mar-a-Lago in August under a court-approved search warrant. Cannon, who was nominated by Trump to the South Florida Federal District Court, in September granted Trump's request to bring in an outside special master. This was a huge smackdown for Judge Cannon and a loss for Trump. Richard Diggs, WNY News, Florida.
The former 2-time impeached U.S. President Donald Trump is facing renewed attention and criticism for his long history of turning a blind eye to bigotry after dining with a Holocaust-denying white nationalist and the rapper formerly known as Kanye West. Just days into his 3rd campaign for the White House, Trump had a Thanksgiving dinner at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida with West, who is now known as Ye, as well as Nick Fuentes, a far-right activist who has used his online platform to spew anti-Semitic and white nationalist rhetoric. Senior Mar-a-Lago correspondent Kayla Jones reports.
The meeting drew immediate criticism from Trump critics, as well as from some supporters, including his friend, David Friedman, who served as Trump's ambassador to Israel. A friend of Donald Trump, Friedman tweeted, "To my friend, you are better than this. Even a social visit from an anti-Semite like Kanye West and human scum like Nick Fuentes is unacceptable," Friedman wrote on Twitter. I urge you to throw those bums out, disavow them and relegate them to the dustbin of history where they belong. Fuentes told Trump that he represented a side of Trump's base that was disappointed with his newly cautious approach, especially with what some far-right activists view as a lack of support for those charged in the January 6 Capitol attack. Trump didn't disagree with Fuentes, but said he has advisors who want him to read off teleprompters and be more presidential. Notably, Trump referred to himself as a politician, which he has been loath to do in the past. Trump at one point turned to Ye and said, "I really like this guy. He gets me." Fuentes told Trump that he was on Truth Social but had been banned from the social media platform Getty because Trump advisor Jason Miller, the CEO of the company, wasn't a fan of his. Truth Social, Trump's social media platform, sparked backlash by verifying Fuentes' account in February. Fuentes first gained notoriety after attending the white supremacist Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in 2017. Trump was heavily criticized at the time for his response to the racist violence, for which he said, "There were fine people on both sides." Trump said he didn't know who Fuentes was, but he condemned Fuentes and West anti-Semitic statements, but he refused to disavow them. I'm Kayla Jones for WNY News, Mar-a-Lago, Florida.
You are listening to WNY News in New York. I'm Melissa King. The House Ways and Means Committee is now in possession of 6 years of former President Donald Trump's tax returns after a 3-year battle to obtain them. The committee received the documents from the Treasury Department on Wednesday after the Supreme Court rejected Trump's final appeal on November 22, according to the Treasury Department. Capitol Hill correspondent Clara Smith has more.
The House Ways and Means Committee is now in possession of 6 years of former President Donald Trump's tax returns after a 3-year battle to obtain them. The receipt of Trump's tax returns brings to a close a 3-year legal fight that began when Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal said, Trump was the first major party presidential nominee since Richard Nixon to not publicly disclose their tax returns while running for the office or while in office. Trump refused to release his tax returns during his 2016 presidential campaign or his 4 years in the White House. I'm Clara Smith for WNY News, Capitol Hill.
A federal judge ordered 2 of Trump's former White House lawyers, Patrick Cipollone and Patrick Philbin, to testify in criminal grand jury probe about the ongoing Justice Department investigation into Donald Trump's January 6 riot and the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. The prosecutors want more information from these 2 men had with Trump directly and what kind of advice they gave him because they were closer to him during the aftermath of the election, and Mr. Cipollone pushed back when Donald Trump talked about replacing William Barr, the former Attorney General, and Trump's bogus claim of election fraud. The founder and leader of the Oath Keepers, Elmer Steward Rhodes, and Kelly Meggs, the leader of the Florida chapter of the organization, were found guilty by a jury today of seditious conspiracy and other charges for crimes related to the breach of the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Carl Hamilton has more.
A federal jury in Washington, D.C., also convicted Rhodes of obstructing an official proceeding and tampering with documents. He was acquitted of 2 other conspiracy counts. All 5 defendants on trial in this case were charged with seditious conspiracy, but only one, in addition to Rhodes, Kelly Meggs, was found guilty. The 3 other defendants, Jessica Watkins, Kenneth Harrelson and Thomas Caldwell, were acquitted on that central charge. Rhodes did not enter the Capitol during the riot, but instead stood outside like a battlefield general, surveying his troops. Tried to get Donald Trump on the phone on January 6 to inform him that they were standing by and waiting for his order, so they can move and storm the Capitol to help him overthrow the government and remain president even though he lost the 2020 election. I'm Carl Hamilton for WNY News, in Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump recently attacked Jack Smith, the special counsel, and his wife, as well as federal prosecutors. Trump used his Truth Social to put up a statement. The former president said this, quote, "This is a totally expected political stunt by a feckless, politicized, weaponized Biden Department of Justice trying to indict me. I did nothing wrong." End quote. First of all, this investigation is not politically motivated, neither did Biden's Department of Justice as weaponizing anything. This is an independent Justice Department doing its job by following the rule of law, investigating Trump for stealing American highly top-secret classified documents and January 6 insurrection riot. On January 6, Trump tried to overturn the election results of 2020 to stay in power. On the contrary, the Trump administration weaponized and politicized the DOJ to revenge and investigate his critics, and it's the wrong thing to do to threaten prosecutors. I'm Melissa King in New York. We can all recall this iconic phone call Donald Trump made to Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, asking him for 11,780 votes to win the state of Georgia. Trump phone call also put Senator Lindsey Graham and former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, in hot water. Graham and Mr. Meadows were ordered by a federal judge in Fulton County to testify in the Fulton County grand jury probe investigation about Trump's phone call he made to Mr. Raffensperger. We now know that Mark Meadows was also on that call with Donald Trump, and Senator Graham also called Secretary Brad Raffensperger to solicit aid help for Donald Trump. John Hills has the rest of the story.
Senator Lindsey Graham appeared before a grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia, on Tuesday as part of an investigation into efforts from former President Donald Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election results in that state, his spokesperson confirmed. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis had sought Graham's testimony in relation to phone calls he made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger after the election. The Georgia prosecutors are looking into the call the senator made to the Georgia Secretary of State. In a phone call with CBS, Raffensperger suggested that Senator Graham asked him to toss out absentee ballots from counties with high rates of non-matching signatures be disqualified. The South Carolina Republican denied Raffensperger's claims and dismissed his comments as ridiculous. John Hills, WNY News, Atlanta, Georgia.
The Republican Party are planning to launch series of investigations when they take control of the House in January 2023. If Kevin McCarthy becomes Speaker of the House, Donald Trump will be the secret speaker in disguise, telling the Republicans how to run the show. The GOP lied to its voters that they will secure the borders, bring down inflation, gas prices as well as grocery prices. But their actual plan is to spend 2 years of political-motivated revenge investigation on the Democratic Party, the Biden administration and his family, including other departmental heads. Tim Collins reports.
The Trump Republican Party will begin its investigation with the southern border, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, investigate the DOJ for the Mar-a-Lago search by the FBI, COVID-19 origin, Hunter Biden, Anthony Fauci, roll back the IRS mission to go after the corporations and the wealthy who, having been paying their taxes, defund the FBI, impeach the Attorney General, and Joe Biden will enact a federal law to ban abortion, etc. It seems the Republican Party is obsessed with 4 things: spreading conspiracy theories and lies, cheat to stay in power, getting Trump's approval, promoting division and violence. The GOP have no plan to help struggling Americans or the country. They want power for their own selfish gain. For WNY News, I'm Tim Collins reporting.
We now join our legal political analysts, Emmanuel Johnson, for his analysis of Nick Fuentes and his ideologies.
Nick Fuentes, seen here with Donald Trump and rapper Ye aka Kanye West, is a racist and anti-Semitic figure. He praised Hitler, denied the Holocaust, cheered on January 6 rioters who stormed the Capitol. Fuentes advocates for political violence, killing of lawmakers and burn women. He's a liberal who doesn't believe in democracy or universal suffrage and anti-LGBTQ, and he marched with Nazis in Charlottesville. Nick Fuentes believes Jewish people are bad for America, and he wants white uprising to gain social media, get rid of Congress and make Donald Trump president forever and stop having election in America. If you like this video, please subscribe now. Subscription it free. You can contact me on Twitter Emmanuel Johnson at EmmanuelJohnson079669, YouTube.com/@EmmanuelJohnson9718 and TikTok EmmanuelJohnson880. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.